This is Fantology.
You may have heard of us.
All right, what's up, contestants? Fantology here with Ben and Josh, the duo back at it again. I guess Steven was too scared by his recent foray into um 1962
11
what
22 63.
11/22/63 yeah, by Stephen King. Um but we were interested in, I mean, me and Josh, I feel like always have like some type of Stephen King book on the back burner. And so this happens to be the book. Also because there was, or is, I guess now, a movie out, or recent adaptation out from it, which I have not seen. Have you seen it yet, Josh?
No, I'll probably watch it. We probably should have tried to watch it before this review just so we can compare and
Well,
contrast, but
maybe we milk it for two reviews,
yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
Um, and worth noting that the story takes place in 2025. So, get this review
Yeah.
out before the ending of 2025, just as a little nod to the book.
Yeah. And yeah, this is one of those things that's like there's so many um, you know, big screen things that come from Stephen King that I don't know if people realize are from Stephen King. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. When I watched the preview, I didn't really like, I forget where it was when I first saw the preview of this. I was like, oh, that looks like a sweet movie. And then I'm like, that it looks like a premise that I'm like, oh, that's probably based on a book. And then Googled it, sure enough. And it's funny because I was talking to my father-in-law about this, and he's, you know, this book probably came out when he was 28. Um, and which is the age of our protagonist in the book. And he was like, "Oh yeah, this like he had a whole kind of history with this book. Like he read it when it came out. I think that there was a pretty popular movie that came out.
Yeah, it had Schwarzenegger in it.
Yeah, yep. And so anyway, it's one of those things that, like, it's not a piece of art that I was aware of before this, that I think a lot of people in older generations would be more aware of. So
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of interesting. And I'm kind of the same way. Like, I don't know if I ever knew about this property or anything. I hadn't had much exposure to it. And yeah, and Stephen King, you're right. He has like a pretty deep well of work. I feel like Shawshank Redemption. When people hear about that, they're a lot of people are surprised. It was written by Stephen King.
yeah,
There's just
like
yeah,
his work has kind of transcended him in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Where it's like you have so many independent pieces that are just very good standalone things that have like kind of desperate fan bases. You know what I mean? That don't that they don't feel like, oh, we're all a fan of this work because we're a fan of Stephen King. It's like, no, we're a fan of this work because we really like it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and that's why we kind of talked about it. It is interesting because that's we were kind of talking our 11/22/63 review about how he's kind of like a airport bookstore kind of author as well, where like he has a lot of books that come out, and like a lot of them are books that you find just kind of mass media paperback. And I think that books like this are why, because he writes a lot of very approachable books and a lot of like kind of intimidating books as well.
yeah,
But
yeah,
we can also talk about the meta a little bit of him publishing it under Richard Bachman, which is um, the alias and name that he published this book under. And he has an interesting piece about that in the foreword of this book, which if you listen to the audiobook that we listened to, I'm not sure if it's like that on Audible. We got through Libby, but just be careful because it spoils how the book ends in the forward. So if you haven't read the book or seen any of the movies or anything, then just you might want to skip the forward and then go back and listen to it.
yeah. Because I do like the fact that like it provides that context of him writing it under that pseudonym, but it does spoil the end. And the version that we listened to had like the artwork, or like the cover was from the movie. So I think it's probably the main audiobook that people are going to
Probably.
be listening to right now. Yeah, so be aware of that. But yeah, from Richard. So for those of you that are like me and weren't are not aware that Richard Bachman was a pseudo or a pen name that Stephen King had, I think he published only like four or five books under it, and I don't think it lasted very long. From what I think people kind of were onto him by like the second or third book, and so. But I think that this book kind of came out after people found out who it was, because in the forward he talked about how he wrote this book as if, um, Richard Bachman had like found the manuscript in his basement or something. I don't know. He had some
Oh,
weird explanation.
interesting. He wrote another book like that he was talking about, like or half something. Anyway, he wrote another book fully after it was.
People
Anyway,
found out.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. So it's just kind of interesting. He talked about how he wanted it to be a little bit less optimistic than like Stephen King books, which is interesting
Quite
because,
the yeah, quite
but you
the
can kind of see it. Like Stephen King books are both, I feel like they play with both like overly optimistic and overly pessimistic parts of humanity.
mm,
Whereas this one, and I guess we're still in the no spoiler section, but just generally, it's just pretty bleak the entire time, you know? Like
yeah.
there isn't a whole lot of like seeing the best in humanity in this one.
Right. It's kind of like, and I was kind of thinking about this comparison. It's kind of like, I haven't seen any seasons besides the first one, but oh, why is the name escaping me? The Netflix show, the game show,
Squid Game.
Squid Game. Yeah, Squid Games. Kind of like Squid Games, where it's like the whole thing is just like a menace. You know what I mean? Like you're always kind of on the edge of your seat. The whole um, and I guess we can introduce the general plot of the book right now. The plot of the book being that there's a contestant that's like has that is trying to evade death, basically, and the whole world, including like a team of elite trained soldiers, are like after him, and the whole thing's being aired on TV, right? So that's kind of the premise, and he's doing it because he has a sick baby, and so that's very similar to Squid Games, right? Where it's kind of like this bleak, they're doing it because they have no way out. They're doing it for the entertainment of others. They, and it just kind of shows this depraved side of humanity that even in like lighter hearted moments is still like cloaked in this, uh, you know, darkness.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I got. There's a lot of social kind of commentary going on there. There's like it talks, there's everything about how media influences us and is influenced by the government. There's climate change stuff. There's sickness, healthcare, basically anything, any social commentary you can think to be that could be in there is in there. Kind of heavy-handed sometimes, I'd say. But in the sense that like maybe George Orwell is like sometimes like a little heavy-handed. I am kind of surprised, that this book isn't more kind of like Orwell, like read more in like high schools and stuff, like um
Yeah, maybe, I guess. I think it's just because of the content of it,
yeah,
probably.
I feel like what not Orwell, but what's the other one that's
1984. It
in
had some.
1984, but then there's oh shoot. There's another one not by Orwell. That's that anyway.
Oh, the book burning one or no?
It'll come to me anyway. It's not that important. But I feel like there's a lot of these kind of like future, like looking to the future, um, kind of you know, pessimistic outlooks on society, on what could happen in like unbridled, like authoritarian government takeovers of society. And I think that this one is like an interesting take on in that genre.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I guess final few things. I read that he wrote the whole book in like a week, like, and so I feel like it's kind of like a going back to the Stephen King coked up days, maybe. Like he's kind of wrote this. Uh, I feel like Stephen King, at a certain part in his career, kind of had a reputation of abusing substances, and so I feel like that might come through in this book more than most. Let's see. Personally, I read this or I listened to this book as I was driving down to Disneyland, as well as while I was waiting in line for Disneyland, and so
That's so depressing.
yeah, there was a lot going on there. It was interesting, you know. It's like I was in the happiest place on earth listening to like the saddest.
What would be the best is if you're in the small world, it's a small world after all line, like with
Gosh,
that
yeah,
song playing in the background, listening to
like
this.
have nightmare fuel right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
I guess ironically slash unironically, I listened to this on like my morning runs for like a week.
Mhm.
So just kind of, it didn't occur to me until like the second day I was like jogging. I'm like, hey, it's kind of poetic. And by the way, the other book I was thinking of was Brave New World. anyway,
Oh,
I feel like that one
yeah,
has
yeah.
a little bit more content, but kind of in the same genre. Um, yeah, I guess should we give our general ratings for this like non-spoiler section, and then give like recommend it for who should read it, and then we can go into spoilers.
Yeah, I would say it's probably a 7 out of 10 for me.
Ah, dang it, I was gonna say 7 out of 10. I'll go 7.5 out of 10. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a fun read. It's a pretty short read. I can see why this is made into a lot of movies. Like it's pretty. I think the movie I saw got kind of middling reviews. I think it would be like this movie seems like it's hard to mess up, honestly. Like,
Well, and that'll be interesting to see what they do because it's hard to mess up if they just follow the book, but if they like have a different ending or
but,
whatever, I could see it
but
being
why?
very easy to mess
This
up
is one where I don't know why you wouldn't just follow the book. Like it's like
because you have to the pride of the movie producer
I guess. I mean, look, I
or
can see with
the
like
writers.
so many things like Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings, like a lot of these things, like there has to be like you have to make serious, changes to the source material if you have any sort hope of like putting into a movie. But like this one, you don't. Like you can just
Yeah.
basically use the book as like a screenplay and
And
just
I don't think
do
anybody would
it.
really care if they added or like basically the entire middle part of the book. Like you could probably change some scenes around or
Yeah.
whatever.
The
But the
middle
beginning
part of
and
the
the
book is
end,
kind of forgettable.
yeah.
It's really, I feel like once he like I feel like the most memorable parts of the book are kind of like the beginning. Well, sorry, and I guess we'll go into spoilers now. But if you I don't think anyone's going to regret reading this. It's pretty fast. It's
Yeah.
exciting. It's
It's like an
not
eight
too
hour audiobook, I think.
yeah, nothing's like too deep about it. Like
But on the other hand, I don't know if I would recommend you go like spend an Audible credit on this book. That's the
mm,
thing.
that's a good point.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
unless you really want to like I don't know. I always enjoy reading books before I go see a movie. So like it's worth it to me. It might be worth it to me, but you're never going to want to re-listen to this.
Yeah.
You're never going to want to reread it. Um you know so I don't know. It's tough because I think it's a good book to spend your time on. I just don't know if it's a good book to spend your money
An
on.
Audible credit on. That's a
Yeah.
good point. Use your library, get from the library,
Yeah.
or just read it, or just read the physical copy of the book. Find it,
220 pages. Yeah.
you can find this book probably at any books like used bookstore and pick it up for $1.
It is interesting because I honestly feel like Stephen King and this book in particular might be one of the few books that I think listening to actually might be a a more enjoyable experience than reading
Hmm.
it because honestly it forces you to sit with the discomfort of some of the more gruesome scenes. So I find when I read books I can kind of just like okay, like you're kind of jump to some spoilers, but like you're listening to somebody getting disemboweled and you're like ugh versus like you're reading it and you can just kind of like
Skip it. Yeah.
skip it. Yeah. So and I feel like you might lose something if you let yourself just skip over some parts of this book. So that might be, endorsement to listen to it. But I mean, you do you. It's.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I guess getting into spoilers, I feel like the most memorable parts of this book for me are like the beginning with him kind of making the decision to go into the Running Man and kind of being exposed to like the network and kind of the seedy underbelly. It seems like Red Rising kind of took some, you know, cues from there too, with kind of coming from a seedy part of the underclass and then being like taken in by high society and like prepared. I guess like Hunger Games too.
I
you
mean, they
know,
all do, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
Uh,
and that's true. But I do wish that we didn't really we had some background info filled in throughout the book, but all we knew at that time is like you know he was watching the telly, like and watching other people compete in these games. And then all of a sudden he's like, well, my daughter's still sick after a week, so I'm going to go compete. You know what I mean? So that was like a little bit,
I think you knew that she had pneumonia and stuff, didn't you?
yeah.
I
Well,
maybe.
yeah, you knew that the daughter was sick. His like 1 year old daughter was sick, right?
Yeah.
Like that is, um, you know, who
Yeah.
does,
I
which
don't
I think
know.
is fine.
But
I just,
yeah,
yeah,
my son is two months old today, and it's like anytime when they're that little, like anytime they cough, you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like, oh, does he have croup? Does he have like, like let's get the humidifier, get the
Yeah,
suction
for
thing,
sure.
So anyway, maybe I'm just in
Well,
that mode right now.
and plus, again, like you end up learning that it was very unlikely for them to even become pregnant. Like there's some type of she worked in the factory or he worked in the factory or whatever, and
Yeah.
they thought that they were sterile, and they so that kind of compounds. Like, okay, I shouldn't say it that way. Like, obviously, anytime a child is sick, it's like, or in danger or whatever, like world ending for the parent, but and for everybody involved. But um, however much more weight you can put on it, with the
Yeah.
fact that like babies are even more uncommon in this hypothetical world, like assign that weight to it. How do you feel?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. So, but that's true. So I guess you could, I don't know. I guess you could say for sure that like you could have had that filled out more. But again, I kind of like the pacing of just like kind of jumping into it and then having the world more filled out through his journeys.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
yeah, I did like the way that the network was portrayed of like having all this like kind of influence over society, and how you knew that they were manipulating things and you could see it behind the scenes, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, it is true. And again, it kind of goes back to um like the kind of dystopian feel of like um but it's interesting because it's like the people that are watching the fellow contestants on this show are themselves in the desperate straits. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
and well, I think that's kind of the point, is like you're simultaneously hoping that you can get out. Like it's kind of like the lotto, right? Where you think there's a ticket out, but then it's portrayed as, well, anybody who actually does it is just an evil person. You know what I mean? It's kind
yeah,
of like the implication of like, yeah, you could maybe get out, but like if you try and go this way, you're just like an evil person to be, if you're going to have any chance of being successful at it.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Um,
you
what?
also saw, sorry, you also saw like at the beginning when he was going through the like admittance process, and he kind of like was objectifying that woman. Like it is interesting how he always, the character throughout the book, always knew enough about like higher society to like make them feel uncomfortable about themselves. Like was able
Yeah,
to kind of shine a mirror on society in ways that like made people come to grips with how unflattering it was.
yeah.
And we'll talk about that more at the ending, I guess. But I think it was just like a little bit of like foreshadowing, that moment was.
No, that's true. And yeah, we do kind of learn that he's might be a bit of like a sociopath. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like how he but I don't know if it's like do they understand emotions? They just kind of I don't know. Like he definitely understands people and he is able to like ruthlessly like take advantage of that fact. Um yeah, and I think that was I think the whole onboarding process was one of the cooler scenes of the book, like you do. Like how the first woman to check him in kind of saw that he was like she was like, oh, like impressed, and she gave him, I don't know, like whatever, like mark that like might signify to other people that he should, go through the process. Um I you know, I think one part that I wish would have been explored a bit more is like how the other games were treated, like maybe like the non-lethal games that they kind of kept on referencing, but like, oh, you might lose an arm if you do this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Do you remember, like, I don't know how big they are anymore, but I feel like when we were kids, there was like the Japanese game shows that always had
yeah,
people getting like, kind of not seriously injured, but kind of seriously injured. Like,
yeah,
I feel like that was kind of the image I had in my head, only a little bit more extreme. Like
yeah,
just,
for sure. Like they're like wrestling crocodiles and stuff. Yeah, but that same feeling of yeah. And wasn't there one like when he was watching it, like the guy had to like run until he had a heart attack or something?
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So
Yeah,
more extreme than that, but like, I don't know. That's just kind of like having to do like ridiculous things and likely get injured doing it, you know?
Yeah, and I wonder again, this goes back to like our age. But this came out in 1982. I wonder how popular like game shows.
They were pretty
Um,
popular.
yeah.
Like, you know, I remember watching the Game Show Network a lot, like in the 90s. Like they were pretty popular. And you had like
Okay.
the dating show. You had all like The Price is Right. You had all the kind of classic game shows that were going like, around well in the 80s.
Okay,
Uh,
fair enough.
um yeah. Uh for me the most forgettable part of the book was kind of, you know, his early kind of checkpoints that he was reaching between like going and getting like the disguises and then moving and getting, you know, like the um I'm trying to even remember like what he did. He went and got the disguise and then he went and got oh what else did he do? Um anyway,
Well,
figure
when
this
you
out.
mean when he went to like get his like documents and stuff, and then
Yeah,
he took off, right?
yeah. He went and got the documents and then he took off, but then he um anyway, sorry, I'm like blinking. He went to like the who's the guy that I guess that was the documents. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking about was getting like the documents they needed to travel and whatnot, right?
And he like didn't get a gun though, right? He was like, if I have to use a gun, it's probably too late.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb.
Yeah. And then he did his he like made it to whatever, like that was it the YMCA or something that he made it to? Like in in a different city? Was it Chicago or what?
Hmm.
I forget. We should probably have have yeah, pulled up like a plot summary, but um yeah, and you know, it it doesn't take a genius to figure out that the tapes were like what was going to give him away, you know?
Well, that's the thing is he knew that. Like I think that they know that the contestants know that, but there's nothing for them to do about it. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just how the game's rigged, right?
Yeah.
Like you just that's what they do is like there's no way for them to win because they can either stop sending the tapes and forfeit or send the tapes and like get a little bit more money, you know.
Yeah. Apologies. I said Chicago. It's actually Boston. They track too. And it is interesting that he like looks out and he's able to tell that he's being like surveilled, even though like there's really nothing that, he's like, oh, the man standing on the corner or what. And I don't know what to make of that. If like you can either read into that as he really is like this uber observant, skilled person, or he's kind of just manic at this point and like realizes that it's probably rigged and he probably needs to get out of there. I don't know. What do you think?
I think he's just kind of a Gary's too type thing.
Okay, yeah.
That's my take on it.
Yeah. And that's probably more confirmed like as we get closer to the end, like how he's able to manipulate like everybody around him.
Yeah, yeah. um
Um yeah, so then that was pretty cool. I guess the escape where he managed to blow up the YMCA while also like knowing that he could tunnel through the sewage pipes until he came out. I'm not sure I would have had the inclination to do that. I don't know very many buildings that have pipes that are big enough for me to squeeze through, but
yeah, yeah. um yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's one of the big things about this book though is just like him, you know, kind of always knowing exactly what to do and always being able to pull it off, you know, despite like everything going against him.
yeah, yeah, that's true. And in that vein, it's kind of like oh, what's that one Bruce Willis movie where he like the Not a Christmas movie? Um,
Yeah, Die Hard.
Die Hard. It's kind of like a Die Hard type situation, right? Like or what? Like I feel like didn't Die Hard come out in the 80s? Um,
Yeah, maybe. Man, uh
1988. Yeah, exactly. It's very much this time of like, yeah, like the main character can do it all, and they are able to just go and single-handedly take on whoever they need to take on.
Yeah. Um, yeah. That's kind of just the 80s frontman, action guy, I think.
Yeah.
Which is fine, which is why I think the Schwarzenegger is an interesting choice for the actor the first time, because like, you know, he doesn't really fit the physical description very much, but like that is kind of the image I had by the end of the book, is that he was just kind of this do it all guy. Um, but
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like that by the YMCA scene, I'm like, okay, this is the type of character that we're dealing with here. Um, what did you think about like because so we had like the daring escape, and then I feel like the next portion of the book is characterized by other people helping him, right? Like you have like um the family in New Hampshire that take him in, like he talks to the young boy and he brings him back, and then they kind of smuggle him out. Um, and then he gets to the other family. Where's that? Um, I don't know. And then the kind of demented grandma ends up calling the police on him, right? What do we think that it's like how much of a social commentary is that, right? Where it's like you have the lower class that's willing to help him out and stuff. You know what I mean? Even like and not take the reward money that's offered them. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing, is like this book definitely portrays the lower class as being like ultimately good people, although they might appear to be bad, but they're all like, everyone that he meets is pretty much willing to help him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's never a time that they appear to be bad. I don't think, you know what I mean? Like they,
Well, I mean, just from the outset, you're like, oh, they're doing, I don't know, it just looks like they look like they're bad people, but they really, when push comes to shove, aren't.
yeah.
So,
And I do like that. I do like how, there's kind of a theme going throughout the book of like, as long as he stays with quote unquote his people, then
then he'll be
he
okay.
will be okay. Um, However, it becomes clear that like, and he might have been, to be fair, like unless and like, but like the nanny end up calling the cops, so like, I don't know if there's much you can do to control for that.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
I do think it kind of shows some type of incompetence that like they couldn't track him down before that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
feel like they should have probably been watching the post office and seen who was milling it and been able to torture the location of them, but I don't know. And I think they kind of imply that they had started to do that. But yeah.
yeah. Um. Anyway, let's kind of jump towards the ending of the book, I'd say, because this is kind of the interesting part. I kind of like the last third of the book, maybe quarter of the book, but when he meets
Is it Amelia?
Amelia, that's kind of when the book gets really intense, I think. So he like carjacks Amelia and
And keep in mind when he had carjacked her, he had already been like a
shot.
broken ankle. I think,
Yeah,
yeah, I think he had been shot in the leg or something. The guy's not
yeah.
doing great.
No, he's not doing
Um,
great.
no, but he still manages to carjack her.
Yeah,
Um, and I think Amelia might be low key like the star of the show. Like she is freaked out, but also intrigued. You know what I mean? Like to your point about like portraying like how upper class society might view the poor. You know what I mean? Like um, I don't know. Like she has some type of fascination with him, but also is appalled by him at the same time.
yeah. That's she's a really interesting character, because at one point I feel like she is kind of meant to be like what the high class of society might do if they actually learn the truth, you know? And that's an interesting thing to me. It's like she sees everything firsthand, and like, and this is where maybe it is kind of optimistic about the human condition, because she sees everything firsthand and takes a stand and is
Does
tougher
she take
than
a stand though? I feel like she does, but I feel
yeah
like she's almost catatonic about it though.
maybe, but she lies and withstands, scrutiny and stuff. And I don't
Yeah,
know.
but it does feel like she's doing so out of like this catatonic state of like, I don't really know why I'm doing this, but it like she does follow her intuition. Like I don't want to short Amelia. I start off by saying she's the star of the show, but like it is kind of like you can see that she has like all of this, all the trappings are falling off, right? And it's almost like it's almost like a Truman Show effect of like, oh gosh, like nothing in the world is how I thought it was, and how would anybody react to that? It's like it would almost be like being dropped in the middle of the war of a war zone, like suddenly, you know. So I really liked that, and I liked how um she was able he was able to get her to like go on his side without like telling any lies or anything. He just like showed her, you know what I mean? Like this
Right.
is like yeah, this is how it is, you know.
Yeah.
And she was always like, no, they would never shoot at you while I'm in the car. And then she's like, oh, that's funny, like let's drive a little bit and see how that works out.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and that was interesting, like how she, they didn't even really try to like protect her at all. And, you know, we were told that, I guess, that there would be like civilians that got injured and like caught in the crossfire and stuff. But like you wonder, like why this hadn't happened before, like somebody taking a hostage. It seems like it should have, I guess.
Well, yeah, maybe, but like it probably did, but nobody really cares. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I don't know. Kind of interesting. But like no taking a hostage and then like on TV seeing the hostage taken out without much care, with how close. Yeah. Uh,
Well, and I think that might have been the difference is I don't know if somebody had taken a hostage while they had cameras there, right? Like, and I think that was the brilliance of him doing it this way was he was able to make it a spectacle. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, and because I'm sure that whoever took a hostage before probably did so, and they were able to like clean up the narrative or what, or like maybe say that the hostage was like helping them or whatever. You know what I mean? Um, so. Yeah, I think that like the fact that he did this in Derry, can we talk about that connection?
Yeah. That's what I was kind of trying to get to with like the interesting, like what dairy like produces these people that, has, just such interesting characteristics about them, of being willing to like look like evil in the face and either ignore it or see it for what it is, you
Yeah.
know? And I feel like that's really we saw that in this one, right? With like so many people in dairy seeing evil or looking in the face of evil and not recognizing it, you
Yeah.
know.
And like kind of it's like they scattered for a second and they like, came back and wa wanted to watch the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Um okay, so then we have him interacting with Killian for the first time. Um Killian might be the weakest player in this show. He did not
Poor
do very well.
performances.
Poor performance by Killian for sure.
Poor
He
performances.
he equipped a terrorist with an airplane, which um I don't think you are supposed to do. No matter what the terrorist says.
Yeah.
Not
That's
that not that 9/11 had happened yet, but I
that's like
think we
the
could all say that that was a bad move. Um and he, was taken out very easily in the end. He was not overly menacing. Um, yeah, so poor performance by Killian. He's not making my top 10. Um,
no.
you know.
Yeah, we used to do like the best of the worst, or the worst
Oh
of the
yeah.
best. That's him. He definitely qualify. You know,
Yeah.
he's not great. Not a
No.
great not a great villain, not a great character, I guess. Like he's poor performance. Um, if I had to rate the performances, Amelia, top marks for me, top marks.
Yeah.
Uh, followed closely by oh, what's his name? Jeez. By oh, what's the guy's name? Um, the main guy, Ben Richards, followed closely by Ben. He pulled through in the end. I I was proud of his decision making, at the end. Do you think he was planning that the entire time? I think he was, right? Like as soon as he requested the plane.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was really the only way out for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, the thing is, he could have actually made an escape, and that's actually what was interesting is he could have chosen to fly the plane wherever,
Well, how
and
would he have?
potentially
They would have just shot him down as soon as he got over,
that's true.
an area. First of all, they knew supposedly that he didn't have the bomb on him as soon as he got in the plane.
No, I think that was a
You think that was a
I
lie?
think yeah, that was because who is the not the bodyguard, but like the elite soldier?
Yeah,
McCone.
McCone.
Yeah. Which I don't know. McCone might give Killian a run for his money
He
for
was
being
he was he. I think it's a tough one. McCone was pretty bad, but like at least he was like there, like
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Why do you think Killian ever thought that? Okay, well, here's actually a question. Do we think that his wife and child were actually dead?
I was gonna ask you. I don't think so. I
Yeah,
think they were alive
yeah. I think that Killian just knew that there's no shot that he would ever agree to work for them
if
if,
they were alive. Yeah, and
yeah,
they might have had him killed after, but like I think that they can't go letting contestants' families die while they're contestants.
yeah,
So
yeah. But McCone definitely gives Killian a run for his money in terms of like being this like epic hunter that like is not able to outsmart his very disabled at this time opponent. You know, like you think that there would have been something that McCone could have done here,
yeah,
but no.
yeah, kind of poor performance like we talked about. Yeah,
And it does kind of make you wonder, like how no other contestant had outsmarted these guys. You know what I mean?
that's they like for sure seemed ruthless, but not very smart. You
Yeah,
know, like that's like the tough thing. Like they seemed as ruthless as originally portrayed, but and maybe that's the thing. They weren't smart. They were just going to where the tapes were coming from.
yeah, yeah. Which also is interesting because do we think that they ever paid out like any reward money for turning like
I
people
think they
being
would
turned
have
in?
had to have because to them it's probably not very much money at all.
Right. But I'm just saying they probably found him pretty fast, you know?
Well, that's what I mean. Like they probably people probably got paid out the thousands of dollars that they were owed or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, because
Um,
the word would get around, right? Like if the lotto wasn't paying out, like people would just like
yeah.
revolt.
What about what about the kind of heavy-handed foreshadowing with when he was like, "Oh, who's upstairs that I can I can kill or whatever," And they're like, "Oh, ha ha ha."
Yeah, I mean, you kind of knew that. So there was a chapter ending that said um, like I got so close or something like that. I was like, oh man, he's gonna get to like the floor. Like I was picturing him kind of die hard, like going up the building and taking people
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
and then like getting like to the floor before or whatever. And that's not, I'm kind of glad didn't go that way. But I was, yeah, I mean, it was pretty obvious that he was going for, that he was going to go for the leadership and not necessarily try and make it the whole 30 days.
Yeah. What about like the ending scene where like they look at each other, like make eye contact as he's like
Yeah.
flying?
It's so cheesy, but
So
so like
cheesy.
it's such like an 80s action movie. Just like,
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Um, yeah. And him like forcing the lady to like jump out of the plane. Just like
Yeah, as I was
get sucked out.
pop. Dude, that's gutsy, man. Like destroy the plane as you're like on your suicide mission. Like that's pretty gutsy.
Yeah, I mean, um, also it's parachuting is not easy. Like there's like a
Yeah,
strong
you and Steve,
likelihood that
we need you and Steven on here because you guys all went without me. Um,
well, you had multiple chances to come, but
yeah.
yeah, maybe that's a Patreon benefit. We can post our skydiving video, me, Jake, and Steven. Um,
How so? Like, I mean, do you think
well, I
like
didn't do
what?
anything. I was
I don't know,
strapped to
but
somebody.
what's the chances of? I mean, yeah, okay, you know better than me. Like, what's the chances of success in that scenario?
I don't know.
Because they're pretty low too, right? Like they're around like 2,000 feet.
Yeah, she would have probably wanted to pull pretty soon, right?
But
But
I mean, she's getting sucked out. Like,
yeah, she's probably very discombobulated. Like if you open the chute when your back hits the ground, that's not good, you
yeah,
know?
I can't imagine that being good. And 2,000 feet isn't like because usually you jump from like 15,000 or something, right? I don't know. I'm making all
Yeah,
this up.
but and even if she opened it correct, like landing's not easy. Like I assume
Yeah,
like
but a
there's
broken ankle is, you know, like
well,
if
yeah, but
if she's getting out of that mess, nobody else on the plane fared that well. Just
that's true.
saying, like
Yeah, the flight crew did not fare well, you
not at
know.
all. Yeah,
Um and okay, let's talk about like the there's two more discussion points for me. For one, like the gruesome like intestines being
oh,
drugged across the floor.
that's pretty brutal, man. It's pretty
Yeah,
brutal.
if they like depict that on screen, I could see people being a little grossed out. Like, you know, a little bit of blood and gore is okay in an action movie, but like, I don't know. We'll
That's
see.
pretty brutal. Yeah,
That
yeah,
was pretty brutal. Um, Cinematic though, for sure.
memorable.
Memorable. And then also like we are in a post 9/11 world here. So if they do change the ending, I would say that that's the reason why.
That they what?
If they do in
That's
the
the reason
movie,
why.
yeah,
Yeah, but what's the better? Like planning a bomb or what? I mean, what's the better way to do it?
make it not a skyscraper. I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, just have it be. Yeah, have it. Yeah, that's true.
Or
Yeah,
maybe, yeah, I don't know. But that is, I also cannot imagine a plane being flown into a building happening on the big screen. What was, I feel like there's a movie that like, it came out like near 9/11 that they had to like rewrite like the entire plot of it because it had a similar thing.
I'm not
Like,
sure.
yeah. But so we'll see. I'm excited to see the movie, and I do think we hop on for like a quick, maybe like we can do make
No,
it like a YouTube Shorts video or something.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but I don't know. Like, yeah, overall, I feel like this book did well. It had like, you know, it it also I appreciate when books like do what the title suggests, like The Running Man, and you're like
yeah.
always like there's a lot of momentum behind the book. Um, Another book that has a similar vibe to that is The Road. I don't know if you read that, where
No,
um,
yeah, yeah.
it's like a man and the boy just walking along in a kind of dystopian landscape, and um, that's a good one. Um, I don't know. There's a few, yeah. Anyway, I feel like there should be a name for that. Books that do what the title says.
Books that
There's got to be a
accurately
name for that. Yeah, right.
expectation fulfilling expectations. Yeah,
But I don't know. Like, what's like? Oh, what's it called? Like the word that sounds like what it is. Is that onomatopoeia?
onomatopoeia. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like there should be an onomatopoeia word for a book with a title that does what it says. You know, Waiting
yeah,
for Godot, another one.
yeah. Another one. Yep.
Yeah, there should be there. Good on
Okay.
this.
All right.
Yeah.
Fantology. There's a comment below on what the term for this is.
All right.
This,
Well, yeah, that's it for this one.
yeah. Come talk on us. We do have a Stephen King channel on our Discord. So if you have strong opinions about this or any other Stephen King work, come jump on. Or we also talk about movies sometimes on there and TV shows. So come jump on, join us over there. Uh, Comment, let us know if there's any other Stephen King stories that we should try that we haven't read yet. And yeah, thanks for trying.